Okay, welcome to the another session. In this session, we're going to learn about SCCM collections. Especially, we will look into the devices and the and users. So how they looks like and how best you can group them to view it. Okay. So when you discover anything from the administrative panel here into hierarchy management, go to the discovery methods. So when a computer gets discovered, if you go to the system discovery, if you bind to the complete domain name, that means it's gonna discover entire domain as this, like it will go here, okay, at the top level, and simply it will right click and find all the devices. Okay, so whatever the devices are there, that will appear under a SCCM. Okay, that's what we are trying to do. So we will see all the devices. So you will see here there is a devices. Okay, you'll see here. So this is where all the devices will appear. Okay, and so next step, what will happen is, so for example, you want to know what all the Windows 10 machines, or maybe a server operating system machines, as separate and workstations as a separate. So definitely, if you think about a larger count of a group of computers or devices, it is really difficult you to manage the number of computers. So it's a better way to group them. Okay, so the grouping can be done from the device collections. A device collection is a group of devices that can be set to a collection as a target, right? So here there are built-in collections. There are total 4 built-in collections we can see. One is all unknown computer. I'll explain that in a minute. And the all systems and all mobile devices and all desktops and server clients. So if I go back to all systems, I can see total count as 6. So if I double click here, I'm able to see all the devices, which are 2 plus 2, 4. Total the same count I'm able to see here, the 4 computers, right? The same computers, but there are 2 more different computers are there. These are the bare metal computers. You can consider as if a machine does not have, or it never knows to a SCCM, we call it as a bare metal. That kind of machines we treat as a these are the unknown computers. That means you never know to a SCCM. It never knows to a SCCM. That's called unknown computers. These are gets by default. For now, you can ignore these 2 completely. These 2 are very useful in the operating system deployment. When you do operating system deployment, it will be useful a lot. Okay, for now we can see that these 2 computers or unknown computers are listed. If you exclude these, total 4 computers we are able to see. The same thing here, the total 6 and plus 2. This is nothing but all systems collection. What happened to the all systems collection means it will list all the devices, whatever it is. Okay, it can be a server operating system or it can be a workstation. Okay, now what else are the collections are there? There is something called mobile devices. That means if you have any iOS devices or Apple devices, it will list here. Unfortunately, the count is 0 because it's completely new and we don't have any of the devices, right? And next one is all desktop and server clients. In this, if you see here, total 3 are the count. One would be the configuration manager and 2 of them are the Windows client machines, right? That's Windows 10 machine, but you don't have anything called domain controller. Exactly the meaning would be, if you see here, the all device collections under this desktop and servers, but a server also a domain controller, but in this case the membership was not listing for domain controls. What if you want to do it only, you want to see only the machines which are domain controllers on your infrastructure, you have to create that membership. Okay, so why we need such a collection membership, or why we need to create a collections, in fact? Okay, if that's the basic question of this short lecture, so the core would be, we need to create a basic collections or the collections, because if we want to push some software, that means if you want to distribute some software, example MS Office to be distributed to 10 users, you want to group them 10 devices in one collection, and then you can target them. So basically, if you're looking for some kind of setting up a target, you need to have a collection. Okay, so that is the importance of the creation of the collections. Now let's have a look on it, how to create a collection. The collection creation is simple, but it has a membership rule. So let's see, right click on this and create device collection. If you try to create here, like I'm going to create here as a test, and then limit is the mandatory from 20 people onwards. Like here you can set it, the members which are gonna add to your collection called test, you want to inherit or you want to filter it from a funnel of different collection. So in my case I want to include from all systems. Okay, that means out of that 6 machines I'm gonna filter out my test collection description. For example, I want to list only ending with maybe Win10 machine. Okay, so that's the name I'm gonna pull it. So that machine should be part of your all systems first point, because that's where you're limiting, and out of that you're trying to pull if any machine is ending with Win-10 or -Win10, I want to pull it. Okay, that's the target example. So let's do. So the first option would be the general option, which is just the limiting as well as the name of the collection and description. But this is where the actual membership comes, and the membership rules will come into the picture. So there are total two major things. One would be the direct. I'm going to talk right away on the direct rules. Other one would be the query. So example, query means like you have a right, if you have a SQL query, how do you build it? Like select star from maybe a student table and the student roll number example, like that you can query it. Similarly, you can have a query kind of thing you can build. The query language name would be the WQL, Windows Query Language. So it's not SQL. SQL is completely different here. It is purely based on your WMI. As I said, SMS provider is the key here, right? So it's gonna play an SMS provider and pull that information related to that specific query, which I'm going to talk in the next session, or maybe in the same session after I explain the direct rules. Okay, let's talk about the direct rule. Okay, so direct rule is which directly a computer name. Say example, when I click on that, it is coming up another window saying that, hey, if a computer name, that is a system, a resource is a system name, okay, has a lot of things like the GUID. If you know the GUID, you would be giving the GUID here, or if you know the NetBIOS name, you can give, or if you know the last logged on username, you can give it, or if you know the configuration manager OU name, you can still give here. Okay, or you can give the any of these values, okay, which are showing here, that can be targeted. So in my case, I'm gonna set it as the NetBIOS name or the computer name. So here if I want NetBIOS name, just type as net name or NetBIOS name. Okay, and if I don't give anything, okay, I should be give as the percentage. Okay, that is nothing but search for everything. Okay, let's search as everything, and then it lists everything. Whatever the machines you want, you can select like this. This is directly you are selecting, or directly you're targeting to that specific collection members, okay, or the direct members which are gonna part of your collection. So if you know the computer name which is ending Win, okay, or in between you have a computer name as Win, so you just give as the percentage anything that is star Win star, right? Similarly, percentage or the percentage Win with this dash percentage. Now it is listing only one, right? Because the only one computer you have here. Select it and then click next, finish. So now there is a computer is directly getting member here. So this is called direct membership. So in a direct membership, you can create a collection if you know the properties of a object or a machine or maybe a user information. Okay, now let's create another rule with a query rule. Okay, we will check on how query rule looks like, but before that, let's click finish this wizard, so that you would create a collection called test ending with win10. So it is, if you see here, our glass is still busy case. That means it is still doing some job, which is nothing but updating the collection membership, which has done. After I refresh, it is showing the status, and one mission is member of the count. If I double click under collections, I can see here the collection. You know how you can close all of these, like right click, close all nodes. So under this, everything got closed. Now you can find here the computer name. Just the one computer is member of this computer. Now let's modify based on a query base. So how do I do? If I don't want a membership, I can simply delete this. And if I click on apply, okay, what happens is, if I go back to the collection, I still have the member count as 1 unless I do a membership update. That's very important. If you remember, a membership is coming in the properties under membership rules. So this is where the rule, whatever the rule is saying, that has to be revalidated when you do the update membership. So the SCCM admin will normally do this kind of update. If you don't do it, what happens? That's a question, good question. So if you look at here, it occurs every 7 days. Automatically this collection gets updated. That means whatever the changes will happen, that would be after 7 days it would happen. I mean, after 7 days means like whatever the rule you have, these rules will be revalidated and the membership gets changed after 7 days. Okay, you don't want that to happen for a long time. You can simply schedule for lesser time, maybe minutes, hours, but it's recommended by default. Leave it for 7 days for any of the collection, and whenever you want, for example, there would be a few of the collections which are mandatory to be updated for you in a faster cycle. In that case, what you do is you will enable incremental update for this collection. When you enable this checkbox, every 15 minutes it would actually verify, is there any delta change. It only validates about the delta changes, and that would come automatically as a delta change to the SCCM collection. Okay, and I'm not going to take anything, but if you look at, if I refresh this, if I leave like this, it might take some hours, but if I refresh actually the page, it will show me the exact members. In this case, the member count is 0. The reason is, if you look at the properties, now there's no rule, so the no rules are there. That means it doesn't show anything. But what if you want to create another collection, sorry, another rule, in this case as query rule? What exactly the query rule? Query rule, when you do it, you can see here, like select star from SMS or underscore system, which is coming up, say all systems, example all systems, and this is a query which is built in. Okay, we will open this query in a minute, but before doing that, if I give a name and simply click OK, then it should list for me all the machine name. So all the machines are coming up here, right? The total 4 computers. Now, if I double click, I can see all the 4 machines. Now, I don't want that to happen. So I want to specifically target, or I want to specifically query for some kind of information with the SQL query. See, it has automatically updated this query, in fact. But let's go to the all query statements. If I click on edit query statement, what happens is, here it will list me the query. There is nothing, but if you click on show query language under criteria, or under this, if you click on show query language, it will give you the actual SQL query, very similar to the SQL query, but it is not SQL query. This query is WQL query. Anybody can write this query. You don't need to be expert on SQL query language or as nothing like that. Is fully GUI. Let me show you that how easy is this. So under criteria, there was nothing was written, right? Under if you see here, there is nothing written. To write in query, you need to know what type of query you want to write. Say example, you want to list only all the domain controllers. Okay, to do all the domain controls, what you will be doing is click on this, and here simple value and the list of values. That means if you want to give as the input as multiple values, you would be selecting as a list of values. I'm going to show you that, but for now the default one, which is simple, I'm going to show this as a first example. Click on select. Now here all the attributes will come up. Okay, there would be many of the attributes which are even sometimes we don't know, like you want to list all the time zone which is belongs to maybe some value. Say example, standard time. Okay, example. So if there is a value, it will list here. If not, there's no value, so it is not listing. And if it is matching to that value, it will give me the query list of machines which are matching to a time zone standard day. Okay, or maybe daylight time or whatever it is. Okay, now let's specifically target. For example, I want to set it as system. Okay, resources. Let me just click on here, system resources. Okay, under system resources I have something called roles. If I'm correct, it should be listed. How would I know? Like, if you're thinking about the operating system you want to target, you can click on operating system name and version, click OK. This will give me all the workstations. So what happens is, if you want to query for all Windows 10, this is the query. So if I put this, I'll get it all Windows 10. So what I've done is, I've not used keyboard even, okay, but I built this entire query. See, if I ask to list a query, this is how you have written the WQL query. Okay, so it's so easy. All you need to do is go to the properties and select the right attribute for the right criteria. Okay, so in this case, if you want all the workstations, simply put it here percentage and the workstation, if it is there in between, it can be a Windows 10 or Windows XP or Windows 10 or 7, 8, anything which has that value as workstation, it will become as a part of that collection. Okay, let's filter with only servers. So what happens is, if I select as a server, this will list me even my SCCM server as well as my domain controller, because both are servers, right? So this is a very big query which has written already. Now apply. Okay, now this is not getting any value. If I click here, it's still showing the old 4 machines, because you remember this has not done the refresh. So it itself triggering that, since we have validated or we have updated the collection membership. Otherwise you need to do it. Okay, now it's taking some time, and if I refresh, it should give me the list of machines. So it has refreshed and it is showing as a count as 0, because the query is wrong. What we have done, we could have actually written there as, instead of equals, we could have write as like. Okay, I'll show you what we have done wrong, but wantedly we have done that so that you'll come to know what is the importance of this value which is operator. So here what we are trying to do is system resource, which is the operating system in the version, which is what are the values it is returning. If I query to that, I'm able to get like server, workstation. So you want only servers, right? So you're filtering with percentage as this, right? So you think that it will only list if anything is contained in the between servers. So this kind of server, it could be a 2019 server or maybe 2016 or any server operating system, it will list in this collection. But the problem is with the operator, you can't have an operator where you can say as it must be equal to like this. Instead you can say as is like. Okay, so is like as server in between anywhere, then this operator percentage can be applied. Now if you apply this rule and do a refresh, it should list the value as 2. Yeah, so it is showing as a two values now, one with the configuration manager, another one would be the domain controller. Now if I want to filter only the machines which does not have a SCCM client, say example, if I go to the all devices, if I filter here by sorting here, there are only one machine does not have a client, right? I can apply that. Even I can search here with adding a criteria as a client, add either is machines, that means client is equivalent yes. If I filter this to no, I can filter that view can be filtered. It doesn't mean that you're creating a collection here, but what if you want to create a collection with all the machines with no SCCM client? So I'll say no SCCM client. So you want to list that, okay, and you want to limit that to all systems, and the query would be like you should be writing a query because you never know that any of the machine may discover, and the status of that machine may have the client or may not have the client. So we need to validate. So the collection must be a dynamic. So having a query collection would be very important, very useful. You can go for a dynamic collections. That means dynamically the value of the membership gets changed. So in this case, no SCCM client. Even if you look at here in the import query statement, there are built-in queries already written by Microsoft where you can use it, all non-client systems. Let's select that, and if you go to the properties, you can find that it's a big one which was written by Microsoft, and the query is simple. If the system resource client is simple, system resource client equals to 0 or there's no value, okay, that is null. That means normally if a client is installed, you will get as a value as 1, okay, that's called the no client. So I'll say no client, no SCCM client, simple. Next. So this gets automatically populated in a minute. No SCCM client, only one machine in our infrastructure. We don't have a client as with only one machine, which is a domain controller. Now similarly you can find out the properties. Maybe by this time you might have a question, how would this guy is creating a collections with his experience, like say example, if I give here browse opposed to this, under this queries, maybe test handle this query statement. Maybe you might have a doubt now by this time what to select here, right? It is a challenging, in fact, right? Say example, let's take any of this example, okay? So what exactly these attributes and from where it is coming, if you know that, the tricky of creating collection is becomes very easy, okay? Let me tell you, all these values are getting populated from hardware inventory. I repeat, it's coming from hardware inventory. So that's a physical machine inventory information which is coming up, okay? And these are nothing but your WMI classes. You remember we were talking about VBS edit in one of the session, right? Yeah, edit soft VBS edit. Under this, you remember there are WMI classes, right? Let's wait for a minute to populate. So under this you have a class. Maybe take any of the example as your bias, okay? In this bias, I mean we have taken last time also bias as example, like all these are the attributes we said, and it will hold some value, right? So let's have a look on very similar to the same class under this. So here, do you see here bias somewhere? No, right? It is named as a PC bias. Actually the name was different here. Yeah, this one, okay? It's not exactly the bias, okay, but in the WMI it is written as bias, but this name was SCCM has renamed to display to you as PC bias. Okay, so let's see where it was replaced. Also, I'm going to show you in the next sessions. If I start telling you that it itself a big class again for extending hardware. Okay, but there's a file called sms_dev.mar file. That's where it was written as PC BIOS instead of BIOS. Okay, now these are the attributes which I was already talked. So if when it says attribute class, actually that's nothing but these are the classes, right? These are the attributes. So that's what this. So if you know the WMI classes, it's easy, right? Example, if you don't know the WMI classes, at least you should know what the value you are looking. Maybe if you are looking for BIOS, maybe the BIOS might be named as with ending either BIOS or starting with the BIOS, right? So that kind of information, if you have an idea, you can easily query. Let's have a look on the BIOS, in fact. So these are the same values like BIOS characteristic, BIOS version. So it's the same attributes are coming up. So BIOS version, if I take it, okay, the value should populate here. So in this collection, I'm populating the values, like I'm getting these values. You may have a question, okay, maybe till this it's okay for you, like finding the class, which is nothing but your WMI class, and attributes or that WMI class value attributes maybe. But for example, this is a version, right? This is the attribute, and what is the value was stored inside is nothing but when you click on OK and when you look for values, that's the value. Okay, so that is the value which was written. So in this case, for example, BIOS version is equal to this version. Okay, then whatever that machine has that value, it will list that collection. Okay, let's see the PC collection or test collection, right? So let's see, I don't know even what was the machine name, but it should populate at least one machine, because we were able to see that value was coming from hardware inventory. Let's refresh membership. So there are two machines, in fact. Let's see. So one is CM01 and other one would be Windows 10 machine. Okay, if you know, if you noticed from the scratch of my video recordings, these two were created in the same format, like with the Hyper-V quick create. Okay, and other machines are created with a different method, like new create, new virtual machine. So that's where the BIOS version got differed. Okay, so anyway, you understand that the query how it writes, right? Now let's go to a little bit a complex one. So you should know basically, let's focus on this, the class and the attributes information, and this is a value. That's good. What if you don't know, or if you're trying to search like this, it might take some time for you to get the exact information. For example, I'm randomly taking AFI client application, not history, yeah, the above one, client package example, and the group ID example. If I take it, there's no value will come here, right? So there's no values here, which is resulting. You know why? The reason would be there's no information is available. The class was available, but there's no client that has matching to AFI client package with a group ID is the attribute which does not have any value on any of the machine. Okay, so you don't get that value. Okay, let's focus one more way of writing the easiest of collections. You take, for example, your team asked you to report what are the machines it has some. Let's install maybe let's install one software on one of the machine. Maybe I'm gonna install on my this PC. Okay, that's a wonderful software. I'm gonna show you SCCM Toolkit. Okay, so this is one of the good toolkit, okay, which has all the client related as well as the server related useful tools are available within this tool, which would be useful for AppV troubleshooting. Okay, let me. Okay, so if I go for the download, in this link I can run this software straightforward. So once I have it is straightforward installation software, so this is going to install here. That's fine. Okay, let's install. It's installed. So any software, you know that if it is installed, it will come to add and remove programs, which is nothing but the programs and features. So it is listing as configuration manager. That is a ConfigMgr 2012 toolkit R2. Let me also do the hardware inventory. So to do that, I have to go here. I'm just forcing the machine to report the hardware inventory. Okay, otherwise by default the configuration was set to 7 days, right? If you remember the client agent settings, which we have not yet done any practice on this, but if you go to the hardware inventory, it will do the next hardware inventory after 7 days. I don't want to wait till 7 days to happen. So now I just install on this machine and run now. So this will actually now go and report the hardware inventory information in my SCCM server. Okay, so all I have to do is I have to wait some time, and then that gets the that information will be populated. I have another session how this entire process inside works, this hardware inventory, which is very useful for troubleshooting of any of the client issues even. Okay, we have waited around 30 seconds of time, and mostly the hardware inventory might be already reported back to the SCCM server. Let's close this and go back to the SCCM server and check whether under devices the machine name is this, right? Desktop 2GJ1, and then go to start resource explorer. This is a key. If you understand this, lot of other problems related to the inventory can be easily, including even the collections, also can be resolved. Okay, let's open this. I'm going to cover a little bit high in depth at this point of time, so let's expand this. So what exactly happened under hardware? If you see here, install applications are coming under hardware inventory, not on software inventory. Okay, that's why I did initiated on this machine hardware inventory, right? I set the machine to perform hardware inventory, not the software inventory. Why I've done that? You can see here under hardware you have the installed programs. This is where the softwares which are installed you're able to see. Under this, very similar, if you go to the programs and features, right, you have name, publisher, installed on, size and version, right? So these total 5 the top values are visible here, right? 1 2 3 4 5, and also the same values are appearing here because it just completed hardware inventory. So here you have the software which is just installed, okay, and the install date also appearing here. So now maybe your boss, or you have a requirement which was which has assigned for you to list all the machines which has this specific software installed. So let's have a look on it. ConfigMgr 2012 Toolkit R2, whether the software, if it is found in any of the machine, it should list me all those machines. Tomorrow I'll put it in this way. Maybe your boss may have assigned to you a ticket or maybe a requirement that, hey, you install Configuration Manager 2012 on all the machines. So you started deploying that, and you don't know how many machines actually have that software assigned it, okay? Or maybe you bought some licenses, maybe Visio or Project Professional, and you want to list it how many machines have that. So you can create a collection also. You can find that machines so that you can maybe target another software which can upgrade it, or maybe you want to unlicense by uninstalling that software. So that kind of target, if you want to do it, you need to create a collection. But to create that collection, you should know what should be your query. Your query should be here, in this case, under attribute classes, this name should appear. and the attribute name must be matching to display name as this value. Okay, let's try to create that target collection. I am just minimizing this, not on a full screen, so that you know what we are trying to do. Okay, go to the assets, and now I'm creating a collection. This time I'll reuse the same collection. I'm sorry for that. So go to the properties. Now under this I'll just delete this. Okay, that's fine. Now query rule. Now this could be your machines which has the toolkit. Okay, toolkit installed machines. So what I will do, I'll edit the query statement. I'll go to the criteria. In this criteria, I'll click on criteria. Now I'm going to say select. What is this? This is nothing but a system related, right? Entire system. So under system, what is a attribute class? You check it here in the left side. Okay, you check it here. Anything, this is what we find, right? Installed applications. There is another installed applications also, but it has 64, right? So in this attribute class, okay, these are the classes, right? These all are treating as the classes. Okay, these are the attributes which are nothing but like display name or product ID, installed date, publisher, version is the attributes. Let's select installed applications here. Just have a look on it here. Here the name, whatever it was listed, it will 100% match. Okay, don't worry about it. If you're new to the SCCM and new to creation of SCCM collection, this is a right place you to start exploring and finding the information. Any kind of complex query you can easily write. That's a confidence you can easily get it, like installed applications. So you are in alphabets A, B. Let's drill down further. Installed applications, right? You have the installed application, so it's there. Now what should be the attribute value? Either it should be display, or what was the task was assigned to you. Maybe your boss was saying that, hey, I want you to report me all the MS Office installed with this version example, or maybe a specific version only you wanna know it. So here what you can do is, in my case for example, if I take it as a version, all the versions will come. So it's not that I'll get it only these. It will list all the thousands of machines, right? Thousands of machines which you have in your infrastructure. So out of that, only one machine or one thing you want to know. So what we'll do, we don't query to one version. Instead, what we do, we would also say that here, we would also say here version should be this, and the product name should be like this also we can query. Okay, so you can add one more criteria also. Say example, if your boss asking the product should be Adobe and the version must be 11 example. Okay, all the machines should be listed in one collection. So what you do, you will list not just the version name, because maybe some other version or some other software maybe called maybe XYZ software which has the same version. So in that case you will be targeting to the wrong audience. Wrong computers will be part of your collection. So what you do, you would again configure here something called installed again to the same thing. Okay, under this install application, this time the display name should be equals to maybe this software example here, this software, and the version must be matching to this version. So if you put as and, it will be listing very conditional thing. So first thing, it has to match to the version, then it should be matching to this name. If you want to play with this to R without touching this here, you can do it here or by writing also. If you don't want to do it as a lazy example, you select this, simply say and to R. That's it. Okay, now it becomes as R. Okay, so that's how you can do the querying part. Okay, let me take out all this query and write down just for this display name, okay, which is in this case attribute should be installed, IGK element, installed application, and the display name. There will be a lot of things it will populate. Remember, if it is more than 10,000, you don't get it here. So you should know that specific target machine, and you can maybe take it from SCCM reports either, or you can I mean, you can get the same information from the SCCM reports also, in fact, or you can just take a photograph of that machine with the add and remove programs and enter as it is here the display name. So in my case, Configuration Manager Toolkit R2. Okay, I'll select this, click OK, click OK. Okay, so now I should list only one machine, which is because in my infrastructure I know that there's no SCCM toolkit got installed in this machine, right? There's no toolkit here, or on a DC anyway there's no client, and there's no SCCM toolkit got installed in this machine. So under System Center there is no toolkit here, right? So only the machine which has a toolkit is this. Let's go to System Center, and you have all these tools, right? So after that, these tools are coming up from your add and remove programs, right, which is install this software. So let's run that collection, which is so this one, the test collection. Let's update the membership and refresh. So it's already updated to 1. If we go back to this, it says that only one machine which has the software. Tomorrow, if it is installed on this machine, example, so let's install, in fact, okay, and see. Let me copy that source instead of re-download. I can copy that software to this machine. Oh my goodness! So it's not saved. It was copy link, and I'll go to the Windows 10, another Windows PC, paste and go. Now run the software. Simple installation which I'm doing on another PC of Windows 10. Now this machine also should be part of that collection automatically. So if you go and see, you don't find it, the machine should be part of it. It will only will be listed in that collection once you have triggered the hardware inventory, or you have to wait for 7 days to be happen. What if you're not in front of the computer? So if you were in the in front of the computer, you can go to the control panel and then open up ConfigMgr applet, and under actions you can force this inventory cycle. What if you don't have an access to the endpoint but you want to force it? So for that, SCCM has given a new feature. We'll be going to the collections of any of the collections. For example, this is a collection. Under this you can say download computer policy or collect software inventory, hardware inventory. That options you have it. Okay, so let's click on all systems in this case. And if you have this option, if you see a specific device, you don't have this option at this point of time, so you simply select the machine is part of whatever the collection. Say, hey, download, go and collect the hardware inventory. So it's gonna collect it hardware inventory from all the machines, where even the one of the machine would be in this, definitely other machine also part of it, like Win10. So that's also trigger in a minute, and it will list the inventory information, and that way the machine should be part of that collection. Let's check it whether this hardware inventory has sent or not. Let's go to the hardware inventory section. Under that, install application. Still it's not yet sent, so we'll wait a few seconds and then we would reopen this. I think it should be done by this time. Let's go here, start Resource Explorer, and then hardware. Somewhere here it should come as install application, and here it is. So now it is listed. That means if I go back to my collection, which is my test collection, which was written as this query, Let's validate that query because we gave a very generic name as test. So let's criteria. Look at here, anything under installed application with the display name as this, it should list. So you have two machines right now, two of them are Windows 10 machines, so it should list two machines, this one. So if I double click, it should list two machines, but it is listing only one. You know why? Because the query was already applied, but it was not refreshed the collection. So it has to wait either for 7 days, or if you taken this checkbox within the 15 minutes of time, it will refresh the incremental update of the machines only. So what I'm gonna do is now I'll just cancel this and I'll say update membership. So when you do that, it will re-verify that membership, and if that query is matching, whatever the machines are matching, it will list that. So in this case, it should list two machines for us. Yeah. So here it is listing as the two machines. Now if I go back here, the two of them are Windows 10 machines. So I've not modified any of the collection, but it is still automatically coming up. So this is the advantage of the query language or the query based SCCM collections. Now there might be a requirement where you want to either exclude, include some of the collections. Say example, this is the top level filtering, right? So under this, maybe you want to say all the toolkit machines should list, but not I don't want from machines from these collections. Say example, I don't want from maybe let's install here as the workstations only collection. Then think that this is only workstations client, or maybe end with the two. No, let's create a collection with all workstations, Windows workstations only. Okay, so how do you do that? I'll just say all workstations, all systems is the first filter. Here query rule, then I think there should be a query all clients is there, but nothing is there. So let's cancel this and write down instead of import workstations only. So simply I'll write to the operating system if it is matching as the criteria, and go here. And if you remember, operating system is the key, right? So operating system, and here I can write down the operating system name. No, if I don't know, say example, I stuck here, right? Maybe you know, I know that product code or something like that. If I don't know, what I'll do is as a blame as a basic guy, or as a level 1 example, we go here to the any of the machine and simply do the system resource. One second, let's it's not coming even this also, because we have to open another console. Let's open one more console because it is not allowing. We are in middle of this, so it's not allowing. Let's take any of the machine, maybe like I want only workstations, right? So I will go here, Windows 10 machine, I'll take as a sample machine, and I do a resource explorer to that, and then I would go for the operating system and see here under caption. So I should look for operating system is the class. So I'll simply go here, operating system is the right one, but I need to go for caption because a caption has this values, right? So under C caption, and then if I go for values, it will list all of these. So I'll say simply anything as Windows 10. Okay, I want these machines to be part of this collection, only Windows 10. So I simply click on not to the equal, as I said earlier, it should be is like, and then and also it's should have this value also better, so that you're targeting to explicitly to that Windows 10 machines. Next, that should list me all the machines here which are Windows 10. So two machines are coming up, right? So I can say this is all workstations. So now what I can do is I want a collection which has a requirement like this is the collection. Let me rename this to toolkit installed machines. Okay, and this is the current one. Now there was a requirement only servers. Okay, only servers should be there. Now what happens is I want toolkit to be installed, installed machines only to be listed. So if I write down the query was targeting to everything, right? So if you look at here, no matter whether this is any of the machine which has a display name under applications, with this name it will filter. So if I want to write a collection or this query like, and also the operating system caption should be not like Windows 10 and it should be only Windows Server. So this description will be a bigger one. Instead of that, what you can do is simply, since you have already built a collection which has the only workstation, so what I'll do is simply go here, I'll say exclude collections from all workstations. So the results should appear as 0, right? Now the count is 0 because the machine should not come from Windows 10, or see, it's become as a 0 because there is no server which has toolkit got installed, right? So that's the advantage of the include and exclude options. What if you installed this software, example, copy, I'm gonna copy this and install on my configuration manager, in fact direct on this machine. I'm sure that there is a internet enhanced security is enabled. It doesn't allow me to download unless I add many things here. As for the security, I can download here. So I'm gonna save this to desktop. So it's downloaded. Go to the desktop and run this. So tool got installed. If I go back to my control panel and configuration manager, and if I do the actions like mission policy as well as the hardware inventory, now the inventory would run, which might take 1 to 5 minutes time max, and then this information will report to the SCCM server. And this server, now if I go to the start and resource explorer, if the hardware inventory is completed, I should see here under applications, okay, a lot of tools got installed, but here it is toolkit is installed. So it has completed the hardware inventory. It was very quick, in fact, right? So toolkit got installed. Now if I go back to my collections, which is this one, it says only servers, and I don't get it right, this value. So I could have actually take this incremental value so that it would automatically update for the next time, and it will list that only one machine. Yeah, only one machine, which is our configuration manager server. So that's how you build a complex queries. Also, now what we talked about the collection creation. So collections can be created for device-based collection. Why I'm calling as a device is there is another session which is focused on user collections. So what we have talked is we focused on a device which is nothing but a system resource. There's a target as system resource. So system resource means this entire information, either it could be hardware or software inventory, anything, okay, you can find in your WMI classes, and that information is pulling up from your SCCM console, right, as the collection. Now let's go back to the one more topic within this collection. There are, if you go to the monitoring, under monitoring there is queries are written, right? So what happens is, think in this way. Now you have your boss is asking you to create or asking you to do small modification on a collection which has some target, okay, target of machines. But if you do a small mistake, what would happen is the membership of the collection would affect with the wrong machines, right? So if you have the wrong machines, definitely it's gonna deploy straightforward with the other softwares, and it might lead to a lot of problems, right? So unexpected software you're pushing to the users, that might include operating system deployment, or might include your licensing information, complaints information, that would lead to a lot of problems. So never directly work on collections. Instead, what you can do is you first have to go to the monitoring and queries, and here write down whatever the query you want to do it. For example, I'm gonna do here one more time, like query statement. Here the same thing, like there's no difference, right? You see here system resource, or let's go to install applications, the easiest one, right? So the display name as this, and the values maybe I want toolkit. Okay, click OK, OK, and go OK, and see this is for installed apps. Click on next and finish. So what happens is this query got built here, but it's not used for targeting anything, but you would first test here, like running here. You will get the proper values, and all the possible values are appearing, including the computer names and the OU path. This is the OU path and the computer IP address. And if you look at little bit here, the machine name also will be there as an NetBIOS name. Give me a second, I can find out either with this name here, or I can go here a little bit. Here you can see here resource name as these. Okay, so this is where you build and you feel that this is the right output. Then you go to the collections, okay, and simply under collections you would reuse that same collection. Example, WQL import. So example, what I'm going to do is, that's a name which I've given, all systems. Then I simply go to the query rule. Most of the time you are going to use the query rules only in your production, and simply say import query statement. And this time I would say test install apps. So since that was tested and it is giving me expected results, I'll simply import here, and that collection gets modified here. Now what you might have a question here. Well, let's pull it this value once. Yeah, so you have the proper 3 machines count, which is exactly same as this, right? Your test results, it got hung. So you got the 3 machines here, and there also you got the 3 machines. But the only difference is maybe in the GUI it looks good, but what if you modify this query? You might have a question that, hey, I've done the query build, now I want to do modifications. No problem, if you do the modification, this doesn't affect. Say example, I want to delete this query. Let's go to the queries, and I deleted this, in fact. Okay, so deleted even, so it doesn't affect actually your collection. Okay, so I can go here and do my update collection membership. Still the value was still it will appear, because it just copies the query information to this collection, and it will set it as a static. Okay, so the best practice is always go and build your queries in under monitoring queries, and then come back to the SCCM collections and import the query and work on it. Okay, that would be the best practice, I would say. So the next step would be, I'm gonna even if you concentrate here, you can here also you can choose as the limit collection, very similar to the SCCM, and prompt for a collection every time. and all of that can be done. Okay, when you set as no limiter, that means it is querying to all systems collection. So that I've already told. Now if you are looking to build for user based, still you have options for the users also here, and user groups also available here. So it all depends on which query you're going to write down. Okay, we have not discussed about the users and user group, which I'm going to do it in the next few seconds, or in the next video in fact. Thank you for watching this.